Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate, episode 46. Yes, folks, we are almost at 52 effing episodes. It seems like it hasn't been quite a year. Thank you all so much for joining us on this lovely Sunday night. Tonight, we are going to talk about where does the data lead us? So, Dion has released some data. Greg from Nickel City has some data. And we thought it would be fun to go through and kind of pick it apart. So tonight's going to be a little bit more of a technical episode as well, though, because I want to talk a little bit about statistics. And I can already hear my co-host rolling their eyes at me. But I want to talk about statistics a little bit and what methods we might be able to use to help us understand whether this is good data, bad data, and what we can do with it. We also have a special guest who should have been at Top Cut, but because of draws, was excluded from Top Cut at Adepticon. Without further ado, let's bring in my co-host and our guest for tonight. Welcome, Charles. Welcome, JJ. And welcome, Crispy. How are you all doing tonight?
Doing good. Expensive weekend.
Hanging in there.
We're in the full swing of Florida allergies over here, so I'm like suffering. But other than that...
You are not lying, sir. I literally have a box of Claritin on my desk right now.
Yeah, I've been congested for about a month, and I'm really tired because I just got back about a couple hours ago from the Ultimate Frisbee tournament up in Gainesville. So I'm here. I'm ready.
Oh. That Ultimate Frisbee, they actually have tournaments, or is it just a bunch of people smoking clove cigarettes and hanging out?
Oh no, that's what we normally do after the game. But it is, but no, it is organized play throughout the colleges.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's cool. I guess I've played Ultimate Frisbee, but never as a sport. So
competitively, you mean, right?
Competitively, or as a sport, like it's us wandering through the woods, throwing a frisbee, and smoking clove wrapped cigarettes. And I guess in Michigan it's legal, so I don't give a shit.
That's frisbee golf, though. That's not ultimate frisbee.
Oh.
Ultimate frisbee is like football, isn't it?
Oh, all right. I've never played that.
But there's still lots of smoking and drinking involved at the end. Same thing.
Right. So I would, at this point, then go and watch y'all play, and I will just start partaking a lot earlier than you all do.
You'll have to wait for an away game that's not exactly
Florida
shined upon in the Sunshine State.
Yeah. I can imagine. That is very true. That is one of the blessings of living in Michigan, other than we have better weather than Florida does. Our mugginess only lasts 6 months instead of like 9.
Yeah,
y'all don't even have
snow,
good
though.
heat. You're right. You don't have snow. I do hate snow with a passion.
You could tell from my Adepticon time that I was loving every moment.
You can't compete that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, freaking at Adepticon, Chris is like, "It's cold, man. It's snowing." I'm like, breathe it in.
Yeah, so I was so locked into my Florida weather brain, I didn't even conceive that it was going to be cold in Chicago in the winter. So I brought I brought shorts, I brought one jacket, and I just braved it the whole weekend.
Oh man.
I was sprinting from my car into the con and all the way back.
Well, which makes sense. We have being from Michigan, like I wore shorts at the tournament every day, except for Thursday. I didn't wear shorts on Thursday because it was too cold to ride up from Michigan to Chicago with shorts on. But I wore shorts, and the guys I was with from our local group were like, "You're gonna really wear shorts?" I'm like, yes. Charles told me, as a bigger guy, you do not wear pants in these things. You will regret it.
Yep.
And I did not regret the shorts one bit. I'll tell you that. But when I left, and it was like 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, and it was like, I don't know, it couldn't have been more than like 15 degrees. And it's like, yep, these shorts really suck right now.
Yeah. That's why I put them under my sweats, just so I can like switch in between on the go. Yeah.
You were smart. I was not smart. Anyway, so welcome, Crispy, to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself quickly here? We know these other two buffoons, but for anybody who is just joining us, introduce yourself, let them know who you are, where they can find you, and why you wanted to join our little podcast tonight.
Yeah, so I'm Crispy, as most people know me from my Discord handle. I'm a part of the Omega Squadron podcast. We've been recording here and there. We had, I think, 2 of our 4 members both had kids, so we've been slowing up a little bit on content recently. But we'll be putting out something hopefully next week about Adepticon. But other than that, I've just been doing a whole lot of online play. I got into X-Wing right at the end of 1.0, so I got to see, big old ghost Fenral everywhere, and then transitioned to 2.0, and I've been playing competitive ever since then. And I want to say that this Adepticon was like the first like big actual tournament that I went to besides like that Gen Con that was transitioning over to 2.0. So honestly, great environment. Happy to talk about it. I did pretty well. I mean, 21st out of 190 that came, so I'm pretty happy about that. But at the end of the day, I feel like I could have pushed into the cut, and we'll get to that.
Cool. Yeah,
What did you run? Just curious.
So I ran a 5-ship first order list. I ran Nightfall with marksmanship.
Nope. Kick him off. Kick him off the show. We don't talk about first order here. No, go ahead.
Oh, come on. I made top 4 in first order, so I'm happy with that. That's
good, man.
Really, yeah. Honestly, nice damage deck. I got the punch out for Scorch as well. So yeah. So my list was Nightfall with marksmanship, proton rockets, sensor scramblers, and the jamming suite. I had Ember with Daredevil, Fanatical, and Hull Upgrade, and then I had 3 of the named First Order bombers. So I had Scorch with Elusive and the Electro Proton Bomb, Dread with Electro Chaff Missiles, Skilled Bombardier, and Proximity Mines. And then I had Grudge with Elusive, Automated Target Priority, and then the same thing on Dread, Electro Chaff, Skilled Bombardier, and Proximity Mines.
Nice.
Yep, all of my ships are worth 4 points, so it's nice, simple math for me and my opponent. It also makes it difficult for my opponent to figure out a target to go for first, because they're basically all the same.
Yep.
So can I ask so you chose Daredevil on Ember over what's the Proud Tradition, right? So how many times did you get Daredevil off throughout the tournament?
Probably 3 times a game.
Okay.
Like it was that effective. Especially on turns where it's like I need to get a shot and still, have mods and stay on objective. Just, one hard lock and then just Daredevil 1 hard back. Just circle on the objective, still get modded shots off. Worked out pretty well. Honestly, the Hull Upgrade, I think, saved her in like 3 of my games. Because just going from 4 to 5 health is a big standout. And when you've got Fanatical as well, that keeps that ability triggering for as long as it can.
Yeah, and I agree with the Hull Upgrade on Ember, because I've been running Ember with Proud Tradition, Fanatical, and Hull Upgrade. Because people don't expect the Proud Tradition as often. And I didn't have anybody flip it. Now, I didn't run that for the tournament. I ran that for the day after tournament, or whatever the hell they call it. But
yeah,
Ember has become my new favorite FO pilot to fly, because she's just so fun to fly. And I had to play the first game I played against in the after tournament. They had a Vader, and I outmaneuvered a Vader with Ember. So, and now that I think about it, I think that Daredevil would have been even better to do. I just never thought about that until somebody put that on there. It's like, oh, I could have really outmaneuvered Vader, because she can just do the 1 hard barrel roll boost right around Vader. Now just imagine if it could be a 1 hard, boost. I don't know. It seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Being able to basically joust anyone and then just barrel roll, hard turn in, and just get like directly beside them. You don't have to worry about boosting and overshooting your target, because with the barrel roll you get a little bit of leeway forward and back to determine where you need, and then you just boost right on in and you're fine. So it's just like flying Von Reg, except you're at I4, and I saw a whole bunch of I4, I3 ships, so she acted just the same way.
Now, what is Nightfall's ability? And
So
did you choose it
Nightfall's
because of the initiative, or did you choose it before the actual ability?
So I chose Nightfall mostly for the ability, and the initiative as well. Um, I mean, kind of the same thing. Because the other option that I had was Whirlwind. I was considering replacing Nightfall with Whirlwind, so that is an I3, but you get 2 more loadout points. So generally that's Predator, because you want to be lining up those bullseyes. But I got Nightfall's ability to go off a couple times, especially if I'm going up against aces that require stuff, that require tokens like Vader. I went up against a Vader, and I just had Nightfall on top of him the whole game, and I mean, with that, because you get the focus and the lock. If you're only putting on one jam at a time, Vader can just focus and then get his lock, and then he's got force mods as well. So having that double jam when you need it is really good. At I4, it is nice to match the other I4 ace in the list. But that does create complications, especially when you're going up against another Nightfall, and both of you two line up across from each other, hoping to hop over the other one first. So it is, it. I think looking back, it might have been nicer to have Whirlwind, because Whirlwind's just a little bit tankier with those focus tokens. A friend of mine, Donald Williams, who did actually make the cut, we kind of list build together, and he took Whirlwind instead of Ember, and he ended up doing really well, and he was really happy with the output that Whirlwind had. I just Nightfall, having those clutch jam tokens, I really saw that as something that I needed to have.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So there's your list. So let's talk a little bit about your experience in draws first. So I don't want to spend the whole show talking about draws, because I think we covered that 2 weeks ago, um, where we spent quite a bit of discussion on it. So what I think would be beneficial. So JJ and I have already given our opinion. I don't know, Charles, if you guys last week covered draws or not, but I think it would be beneficial, since I didn't podcast that last week and put it on the channel. Between the two of you, you give your opinion, then JJ and I will kind of chime in towards the end. Um, I don't want to spend an hour having a discussion about draws though. So, Crispy, you specifically drew out of the cut. So first you should probably tell us a little bit about that game,
Yep.
so that we kind of understand some pretext to it. And then let's kind of talk about draws, because I think it affects competitive play on a whole pretty aggressively. For example, I wasn't going to make cut because I had 2 losses, but my last round draw knocked me out of top 32 to get any prizes, specifically because of my draw, you know. So
Yeah. So just to set the scene, this was round 4, chance encounter. My opponent and I, we were both 2-1. So basically, we needed to keep winning to stay in. My loss was a heartbreaking last turn loss, so I was trying to avoid the same thing. We got into it. I mean, chance encounter with my list is definitely its weakest scenario, because I don't have a lot of firepower out the front. I've got the electro chaff to stun you, and then I've got proximity mines, and then Ember just does what she can to clean up. But if there's no pressure for you to come to the middle, it's very difficult to get the electro chaff off. So I was sorry, I was struggling a little bit early to get points. My opponent had a 6-ship Republic list, 2 handmaidens, Barris, Contrail, Mace, and Hawk. We ended up trading ships back and forth. Eventually, it got down to a point where Barris got some natty cluster missiles off against Grudge. Grudge couldn't survive, even though Grudge was touching, like facing Mace, and would have just boosted over proximity mine, killed.
Oh.
So I went from having a 10-6 lead, or would have had a 10-6 lead, to it being an 8-8 tie, and then time was called in the round. Ember
Wow.
needed to do 2 damage on the Hawk to get half points. Had lock, didn't get it. Needed 2 damage on a lat and did not get it. So we tied. And at this point, I was, kind of upset because this knocked me out and it knocked my opponent out. And my opponent seemed pretty happy about it, because I got an early lead and it was a come from behind tie for him. And I was like this kind of sucks. Like, one of us should be able to move on. Like, because we're just both sitting here like, okay, this was like this is bad. Like, this is bad for both of us. And I'm like, one of us should have the chance to go on. And he goes, no, we tied, we fucked each other, and walked off. So
Yeah,
I
that
had
sucks.
to input the score as a tie.
Ugh.
So
that just feels so gross, right? Because you put in all that effort, and in the last turn that happens. Like, I mean, I would much rather my opponent in that scenario either win fully or lose fully, and I would feel so much more satisfied in that type of scenario than both of you guys just walk off essentially as losers, and like that sucks. That sucks a lot, man.
Yeah.
so Charles,
Yo.
your thoughts. So you haven't played competitively in the market with the new rules and everything.
Oh, not with
yet.
draws. No, I played at LVO, but no, I've not.
Yes.
Not since draws have been instilled. And I'll be honest with you, there has not been a game that I have played competitively, whether it be Flesh and Blood, X-Wing, Magic the Gathering, the World of Warcraft card game, Hero Clicks, Attack Wing, whatever you want, whatever game I've played during the history of competitive gaming that I've been a part of, any of them that have had the opportunity for a draw, I've hated it. I don't think that in competitive gaming there is a place for it. It'd be different if it was like a Magic the Gathering type thing where an average game takes about 25 to 30 minutes. That's not a, you know what I mean? A 3-round average game takes about 25 to 30 minutes because the games just run so fast in modern Magic. But when you're talking about investing an hour into a situation where a game that has existed for almost a decade has been win-loss. There was no such thing as a draw. If it came to a draw, you rolled off. There was a win and a loss in every single game. There was never a draw. I don't want to play to a draw. I'd rather me and my opponent step outside and Rochambeau one good time, and whoever's still standing afterwards gets the win. I'm not a fan of draws in any aspect. I don't like it in hockey. I don't like it in gaming at all. I don't like draws.
Yeah, and I guess that like I said, that kind of makes sense. And that was when JJ and I kind of rehashed what we felt would be better than a draw, right? And there's going to be a lot of discussion, in my opinion, around that, because if you think about it, in competitive play, I did not know draws were really a thing. I mean, everything's better. How about this than a roll off at the end where it's final salvo? That was the stupidest thing. And this is where my complaint came in. If you go through Adepticon and look at how many draws there were versus how many final salvos would have been, they dwarf them by like 700%.
That sounds like a made-up statistic.
It is definitely
Okay.
made up. I'm just
That stuff guy up here. Yeah.
So Charles, how many final salvos were at LVO?
One that I was aware of, and I can tell you that in my entire X-Wing career, if that's the appropriate title for it, I have had 2. total final
Yeah.
salvos,
I
because
remember
the
that one.
odds of exactly coming down to where I have killed the exact number of points on your list and you have killed the exact number of points on my list at a 200-point squad, or even a 100-point squad for that matter, it was ridiculously hard to get there unless it was like a mirror match. But
Yeah.
in almost 10 years of playing X-Wing, I've had two. One was in a friendly game and one was at House Rules here in Kissimmee, where it literally came down to, I think it was like 147 to 147. We had
Yeah.
duked it out as hard as we could, and it just was an errant, like random, hey, this half points gave you enough to put it to final salvo. Outside of that, it's never been a thing. Every game has been win or loss. Whether it was 1 or 2 points, still win-loss.
Crispy, how many final salvos have you had in your career?
I had one like 3 months ago, and I think that was my first one.
Okay. So
it was just at sci-fi.
So there you go. So Charles, when I say 700%, that's my point, is to be ridiculously crazy with that number, because I alone had 2 draws in the weekend, one each day. So I had one in the final, in the current tournament, and one in the next day, Sunday participation tournament, or what, I don't know what the hell they want to call it.
The rebound tournament.
There you go.
Yeah.
So just alone, I had 2. I have literally had one final salvo in the 2 years I've been playing. Now, it's pandemic, right? So it's a little different.
But
Games didn't go to time, but that's like, come on,
But so using like a pro sports mentality when it comes to this, when you have a like compare original like 1.0, 2.0 X-Wing to the NBA, right? Where 97 to 105 is not an uncommon score for that many points, versus the NHL, where an average score is 4-1 or 3-2, or like if it's some crazy, they might hit 7, but that's a runaway game when you're looking at hockey, right? When you take the point deficit down to where 20 points is the only thing that matters, you're going to, statistically speaking, have far more draws and far more opportunities than you do for a 200-point span. Because with 200 points, Crispy and I and all 5 of us, or all 4 of us, could fly the exact same list of ships, and with the variants and upgrades, pre 2.5 or pre 3.0, whatever we're calling this, we could fly those mirrors, all 4 of us, and never have a final salvo because of the variance in how we spent our upgrades. Now, if we all 4 flew the same list, there's a very high percentage, because the upgrades don't matter. I don't score points based on upgrades. I score points based on your pilot. And the other thing is, half of these scenarios, and I've not played a lot of scenario play, so JJ or Crispy, step in and correct me if I'm wrong here. Most of these scenarios don't have an opportunity for half points. So like when you're sitting down to a scenario, and I'll speak as a 1.0 veteran, not having half points sucks. When you spend your entire game chasing down 2 B-Wings that you can't kill because, God, those things are tanky, and you get nothing for it, but they shoot into your YV666 that has just as much health, and they get half points because it's a large base ship versus a small base ship, that's a feel bad. So I think that if you really want to get rid of draws, half points needs to be a thing in every single one of the scenarios, or we need a larger point variance than 20, or do roll-offs. I don't care, but draws need to go.
If I'm not mistaken, in the top tables for Adepticon, they did do roll-offs, like roll for first player, and whoever won that roll went on to the next round, because there were a couple of ties in the top 30, top 16, and top 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. See, here's the thing, and I know a buddy of mine, so I'm gonna shout out to Cormac Higgins. He tied Nathan Idy in the top 16, and they told him, "You've got time to do one more round." And then in the top 4, Nathan tied, and they told him to roll off, which I find really weird.
Oh wow, yeah. You think that they would have had, like, especially coming from like the the TO and the judges there, like they would have had like a plan in place, for when this would have eventually happened, that way there's, it would have been equal across the board, like this type of scenario, how they would have handled it. Having that two separate like resolutions for like a draw, especially in the top cut of a game, that's something that should have been addressed way early on, honestly.
So on that note, though, and I'll just go for the second half of LVO. Right, there was a scenario that came up that's a one-off scenario. I've only ever seen it happen one time in the hyperspace like deployment style of game. But there were two swarm lists against each other. And at the end of rolling for placement for player one's ships, player two went to start rolling for his placement and couldn't place any of his ships after rolling for 8 different placements. And they had to call D over because, like, technically speaking, if none of your ships are on the board, the win-loss rules say, hey, there's no ships on the board. You automatically lose. This was the final round of that tournament. So, like, do you automatically lose? And, that's a one-off situation that we've never, as an X-Wing player group, we've never had to plan for, right? So I think that top 16 versus top 4, maybe there's a difference, or maybe they made that call for top 16 and then they went back and discussed it and went, you know what, we can't give an extra round because we called time. So that might have been a case where they made a judgment call and then in the group of judges, under D or whatever the case may be, decided that that was not in the best interest of the game and had to change it later on. I don't know. I wasn't at Adepticon. I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody. But, we never know what goes on, especially now because we're in the Wild West of X-Wing again. There's no official tournament rules. There's no official stuff like that with AMG involved, right? This is all community-led stuff and things like that. So there's no way of knowing one way or the other.
Yeah,
Hey, don't
and I mean,
flaunt
it's
your
still
kids on camera.
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's still fantastic that we're getting these events. Like, honestly, like, shout out to Dion and the whole GSP crew.
Absolutely.
Like that, I was satisfied. Like, I was oversatisfied with the entire event. Honestly.
Absolutely.
It was incredible.
So, and I think the kind of as we close this out. So obviously we're all to some extent right in agreement that there's an issue with draws and it probably needs to be addressed. And we went before with saying there, like my opinion is you would have a second type of tiebreaker. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but I would prefer to have a secondary tiebreaker based on the scenario. So, for example, chance encounter would be how many mission points you scored, right? So if you go into the board the middle of the first game, you get the mission point, and then you guys tie. That's your tiebreaker, And for one of the other ones, you could say it's whoever scored more half points or whatever. I mean, none of them are set in stone, obviously, right? So that was an idea. The other idea is to change your points values for that, or change how the scoring works for objectives. And I think all of those pieces fix draws to some extent. But again, all of them will have to be tested. So once we get through this gauntlet series, we're going to put together a document that we want to do some tests for, just to see what the data says. Because to me, that's how we can help change AMG's mind, I guess, and maybe not change their mind, but offer them advice. And I will openly say again, if Greg's listening, I disagree with you 100%. I do not agree that AMG is not listening. They just may not listen the way we want them to.
I am going to side with Greg on that. I don't think that AMG is listening. I think they showed support with prize support, but I don't think they care about the data at the stand. I don't think they have the ability to. This was a community run event. They showed their support by getting old OP kit stuff out there. And if I'm wrong, by all means, I will publicly apologize to AMG. But as of right now, they have had every opportunity. We are a full week, 2 weeks out of Adepticon. AMG posts every time they go live for their painting casts, for their Marvel casts. There have been posts about all of the releases for the Shadow Collective, for Legion. There have been all this communication. There have not been one single mention of the winner of the first post-COVID tournament and the first person to get an invite into the current Worlds community. There's nothing. There's nothing. And again, they could be waiting. They could be doing an interview. They could release a whole video where they have him on, and I'm wrong. And I will publicly apologize to AMG if I'm wrong on this. I will say that now. You could record it. You could mark it down. I will publicly apologize. But as of right now, they have disavowed all knowledge of Adepticon. There have been no mention of Adepticon, of champions. There's no pictures. There's no nothing.
So
that's my take.
Yep.
Because whenever we had a Worlds winner or a System Open winner with FFG, there was a post of them holding the trophy. There was some mention of them. There was an interview with the Worlds champion. There was something to show acknowledgement that somebody spent time on their game. AMG did not do that yet. So we will see what happens, but I don't believe that they are listening. I don't think that it's a thing.
So Dion specifically did say they requested the data. Like, he openly stated that was requested. What they do with it, we don't know, though. But there was a request for data in some way, shape, or form. Hence why we saw those pads. They also had been paying attention. They were in the chats when the 2.5 went live. So if they were 100% uninvolved, they might be. Now, Charles, you could be right in the aspect that they don't give a crap about competitive play. You know, that's the thing. Do you know, did they announce anything for the Legion or Armada or MCP? Did any of those get announced?
That I don't know off the top of my head because I don't watch for those posts. But go ahead, JJ. Go ahead.
I do watch for Legion and Armada. For Legion and Armada, they just posted pictures of like the actual setup of like, you know, the tournament itself. But to my knowledge, I didn't see any posts for any winners for Armada. Actually, I didn't see any news for Armada at all, other than what they just released recently for their print and play expansion. But Legion, they did show at least photos of the setup, and as well as MCP, but nothing about the winners of those events on their site.
So, Chris, just to kind of call back to when 2.5 was on the horizon, when we didn't know the points change was going to happen, we just knew that things were changing about the game we loved. And you said one thing, and I think that it holds true even now. Something is better than nothing. When they weren't communicating with the X-Wing community at all, everybody was up in arms about how terrible this was, how they're not listening. However, then they went and they did their interview with Fly Better. They started to show that communication. We were at least getting something. Even if it was on a Facebook page, we were getting something, or they were mentioning it in Paintcast. We were getting some sort of communication, and it seems that has closed off again. And that's my take. That's my take. I am not saying that this is the official stance of planning phase. This is me. My take is that the communication has either bottlenecked or just stopped altogether.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I agree with you there.
All right. Well, do you want to look at the numbers then?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to do it because I think that
absolutely. I'm not against data. I'm just saying I wish they would communicate something like, "Hey guys, we're looking at the data to see how it worked out since this was the first major."
Yeah, I'm definitely interested.
So, like, I'll put it out. I'll put it like this: if you applied for a job and you heard nothing for 2 weeks, not a "Hey, thanks for applying," not "Hey, we got your application," like none of that. It just went dry for 2 weeks. You would forget you applied for that job. If you never heard anything about it, it wouldn't bother you because you would have forgot that you applied for it. But when a company says, "Hey, we looked at your resume, we'd like you to come in. Hey, it's going to take some extra time because our HR department is short-staffed," right? There's some sort of communication. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I need a full write-up on Adepticon, but some acknowledgement of, "Hey, the tournament that you guys ran with our backing, because we sent you OP and we acknowledged that this was going to be the first Worlds event. We're taking an opportunity to look at the data, and we will update you as soon as we have definitive information on how the game played out. This is the first major tournament with the new rules. Give me something.
All right. So while I say all those feelings and things like that are fair, where I would go back to also what I've pointed out is that they have very poor, I don't know if I want to call it marketing skills, but essentially they have an inability to relate to the public. But they at least are communicating with us. So I guess if we go another 5 months and we don't see any communication, I mean, they did announce the next World's qualifier. If anybody wants to go to Europe. So I don't know, Crispy, are you going to go to Europe in a world qualifier? I probably won't, but it sounds fun.
I mean, my wife has always wanted to go to Europe, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, this is your chance. I'll, just leave you with the kid, and I'll go play X-Wing. Well,
so if anybody wants to bankroll Plentyface Syndicate and Crispy to go to the UK to play in a X-Wing tournament, we're all on board. I bet we could get tickets right now for about $700, $800 round trip to Great Britain. We just got to get them now.
It won't be snowing there either, hopefully.
It's fucking Great Britain. Who knows what the weather's going to be? All right. So let's look at a little bit at some of the data. And I didn't pull a lot of it together. And so we're gonna talk about the data, and then I want to talk about how we actually can understand some of the statistics behind some of the data, right? So I only pulled a few figures. The first figure, and I guess if anybody can't see this, let me know. I think I can make it bigger. Oh, no, I can make it bigger. All right. So essentially what we are looking at is I took each of the scenarios, and this is stuff from Dion did, and I did average churns and average points per churn, the average total for the winners, and the average for the losers. Or should I say second winners? We'll just say second winners. And then I also did, I went by each round, and I put the total number of players that played or total number of games played. So I think that's important to look at first, because when we talk about statistics, we have to talk about, are the statistics we're looking at accurate? Are they even? Do we have a good sample sizing? Do we have anything that we can genuinely understand and put together? Because, for example, it's not fair when we have 10 scum lists to say that 0 made cut for scum, but we have 50 Republic lists and 23% of them made cut, right? Like that's not an equal representation between the two factions. I mean, if Charles had been there, it would have been 11. We would have had 1 in cut at least. So
you're not wrong.
So I'm just saying, so I think let's look at the data a little bit, and then let's talk about actual statistics. And yes, I brought websites that will bore people. I don't know, Crispy, what's your major that you're going for right now?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay, so
numbers,
right, well,
yay!
Yeah. So this might be up your field. Hey, damn it, JJ, you picked a really good guest to have on then. How far along are you in your degree?
I'm going to graduate fall 2023. So
okay,
I've got about...
So have you taken statistic classes then?
It's really funny because I'm currently in a statistics class.
Oh my god! Okay, great. So I think we found that so backstory is I wanted to run like an R formula and kind of look at the T variable and do like a T test, and nobody else like I haven't done it. Let's be honest. I'm 38 in 15 years. It's been about 15 years. So maybe not quite that long. Maybe only 12 years. I think I'm 12 years out of college. But still, I haven't had to actually do that because my current job doesn't use that type of statistics because I don't work in genuine engineering, right? Like I'm a business analyst. So we don't have to get that detailed. Like you don't do that. But anyway, so maybe you could do your that's what you should do for your final for your statistics class. See if they'll let you analyze X-Wing statistics. That sounds horribly nerdy.
Eventually,
I'm
it's
not
gonna
gonna lie.
be a
When I was
project for
doing when I was
statistics.
doing architectural engineering, our final capstone project was to do a full set of diagrams, but they didn't specify on what. So as a joke, I did a full working set for a house, but I also did a full working set of electrical diagrams for the wiring for a lightsaber.
Oh, that's
And I
sweet.
turned
Yeah.
that in, and my professor loved it so much that they took that as my capstone project.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It was super cool.
Yeah, damn, Charles. Well, why are you not creating us lightsabers? Damn it. I need my custom
Well,
lightsaber.
so to be fair, the full wiring diagram relied on this thing called a kyber crystal that does not natively exist
Oh my
on our
God.
planet. So I mean,
like a minor
if you
thing.
can find one, I think I'd probably be able to hammer the rest of it out. Just say
They
and a
sell them
power
at Galaxy's
supply
Edge,
to
bro.
power-
Come on.
Yeah. I've got a little white one right here somewhere.
All right. So the first thing that I pulled together is the number of games played per round. So the first round was 94. Second round was 93. Then it went down to 89, 81, 77, and 72. So even in round 6, we had 144 players playing in the tournament still. And that part of that, I will give credit to Dion and the team for the way that they did prizing.
Yes.
We were heavily encouraged to play. I mean, look, Crispy even went on to play, even though in game 4 he got knocked out of cut too. So,
Yeah, I had a blast. I mean, once I got my second loss, it's like, just play to play, right? You came all this way to get some X-Wing in, and I had a blast playing, the rest of the day, like getting all those other matches. Unfortunately, I didn't do very well this time around, but just the community in general, just like speaking with everybody and just having a ton of fun in the lower tables and just joking around. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, even with being knocked out, I just, I was there. I was playing in first order as well, so pretty underrepresented when compared to some of the other factions out there. So I was still in the running for prizes, so I just kept going with it.
yeah. And 2 weeks ago, we went through all the prizes that I got. I mean, just the amount of tickets for being there for 4 days was just insane. Just like,
Also, by the way, just real quick, Chris, I appreciate you, sir.
oh yeah, no problem, man.
I don't know if it came from you or who spent their tickets on it, but that spot gloss Guri is that's
Yep.
a thing of beauty. I'm gonna
Oh.
table that as soon as she's black box legal.
All I was gonna say is you have one goal. You don't have to ever pay me back. You don't have to do anything except for make cut with that spot class. That's all I care.
As soon as they release a Star Viper, I am officially switching to Star Viper meta. I will have one in every list I fly.
All right, Guri specifically. Yeah.
Oh, it's a gorgeous thing.
Now, just so you know, I got one too, Charles. So
that's fine. I don't care.
after
I
bought yours, I was
how
like,
many
oh, this is
everybody
really
else
cool.
gets one.
This
I don't
is really
care. I don't
cool.
need to
like
be
this.
by myself. What, does Crispy have one too? Is he gonna pull one out just to flex as well?
Yeah. Give me the Scorch, by the way. I want to see the Scorch that you got for top 32.
Nerd flexing
So-
on the stream. What?
I've got so many cards in here. Let me find them.
I still have my Pride of Mandalore stuff sitting out that I've still not put in my case yet, just because I've been lazy and haven't organized anything.
Yeah, same here.
Actually,
we got
JJ, I
the-
think you have my B-wing.
Scorch card
Ooh.
right there. Yeah.
Nice.
JJ, are you
With the
still
Oh,
in
do I?
B-Wings?
Wow.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
I know what I'm playing for the beater tournament. So
All right. So anyway, so that's just the only reason I wanted to post those is because that's just kind of the beginning of it. The next number that we kind of look at is your average turns and what the average point difference was, right? So for every scenario, the average points was between 8 and 9, difference between winner and loser. So that's a pretty high score cap, and then the average number of turns was between 4 and 6. So Scramble the Transmission had the lowest amount of turns, and Chance had the highest.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why chance engagement is the outlier is the half points, right? Because if you take a look at the other three scenarios, on a final turn, you could possibly kill a ship, which, and when you're looking at the average cost of these ships, that's 4 or 5 points, and then you add on the scenario points that you gain from that particular round. So that kind of makes sense for that average for the other three scenarios versus chance engagement. So yeah.
Yeah. What I think is even more interesting is if you look at the middle graph, the middle one shows you what the average win points of the winner versus the loser was. In chance engagement, they never hit 20 points. That
Yeah.
seems pretty high, right?
Yeah, that does seem really high, actually.
Yeah, and yep, like Wookie said, technically you don't have as much setup. It's just obstacles and one effing object. That's it. One objective that sits in the middle of the table. It's just your object, and you know how to fly this because anybody that's played 2.0 has flown this. I mean, like, I don't think very many people went after that center object or objective until towards the end of the game. I will say towards the end of the game they did, but at the beginning it was not a thing. Like, you didn't. Oh, I'm gonna go sit in the middle and hope that I get this point. I will tell you with droids, I play that center objective more often for chance engagement, but I don't very rarely make so much of a difference because they die.
I mean, it's also range 2 is a huge bubble. Like for like
Especially
you guys
with
can
big
have
bases.
ships on different sides of the bubble, and you're not even going to be able to shoot each other. So generally, for most games that I've played of Chance Encounter, it's just each opponent just on the first turn just puts like one of their ships all the way just to the very edge of the range 2 bubble, and then just does like a 4 straight, and that just catches it barely within range 2. So you just deny the point, or at least force your opponent to come contest you, and then you just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at the average point difference between wins and losses, it's that 9 points, and I'm gonna say, like, to me that's a very telling statistic, and this is where I have a little bit harder of a time not wanting some changes, right? Because and maybe you could you all could correct me if I'm wrong, but if we go back to 2.0, were people winning by 50% or more all the time in tournaments? So were you killing 200 points or close to 200 and your opponent only getting 100 points, or were the games closer? That's a question for anybody.
In 2.0, I often found that, I mean, to be fair, this is going to not answer your question with an answer for your question. More often than not, they were closer games. Very rarely, unless I was at the back end of a 6-round tournament and hadn't slept in 2 days or something. Very rarely was it ever a complete blowout. I've had 0 to 200 games, or vice versa, but more often than not, it was points scored for you know what I mean. It was points scored for
Yeah.
both sides that kept it close, but
Yeah, I think especially with the last wave of 2.0, if you were to grade all the games that were played, at least from what I observed between the Galaxies tournaments, in-person tournaments and stuff, that bell curve where you can kind of grade, like, how many games kind of fit into that center of that bell. I think that the final days of 2.0 actually had a very even distribution more towards the center, where the games were a lot closer. I mean, you weren't seeing too many blowouts like 200-0. That was actually like a rare. But I think the games were pretty much within, like, I would say, like I would guess at about a 30-point differential, like the difference of like a ship, or like a ship and a half. Usually that would be like the range that I can say from everything that I've noticed from like the final list of 2.0.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crispy?
Yeah, so I think, just from my experience, is that it differs greatly based on the type of list that I'm flying. So I flew Vader Defender and Death Rain for a long time, and that's a 2-ship list. That is very difficult to give up points. So I'm giving up maybe half Death Rain or Death Rain. So I'm only giving up like 38 points on a complete blowout. And then it's like, all right, if I lose, then it's basically just all the way over. I'm giving up 200 easily, and with 2 ships, I'm probably not killing quickly. But if I'm playing, like 4 or 5 ship lists, then it's going to be a lot closer. Generally around 50 was where the difference was for most of my games. Just because of you're fighting back and forth, and it's like, man, this ship surviving. If I got the kill there, then that would have brought me just a little bit closer, and then from there I could have killed this other ship. So,
and I agree. It's like if you look at Phil GC when he ran his 110-point Guri Fen, where he ran Fat Guri with like every upgrade on her, and then just Fearless Fen as the side note. Like it was either he completely won or he completely lost. When you have 2 ships and they're fragile ships like that, there's no in between. But if you run a droid swarm, like when we were looking at the height of COVID, when they did what was it, the Nantex versus Nantex, very rarely was that ever a blowout. Like it was within 1 ship or within a half ship of each other. And the same when everybody was running droid swarms. When it became like swarm list, you never saw that big of a point separation.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we look at Greg's data here real quick? Let me transition back to that.
Crispy, Nickel City says that you are looking like a relatively golden knight, if he does say so himself.
I don't know what that means.
He goes to the University of Central Florida. That's the Knights there. That's.
Oh, I was thinking like got peed on or something like that because it was Greg. So, I was like, you look pretty dry to me, but all right, whatever. Maybe you and Greg had some weird inside joke.
Oh.
All right.
Of all the things I didn't think we were going to talk about on the podcast today.
Oh. All right. Okay. I just derailed the whole show, didn't I?
That was great.
It was fantastic.
That was awesome.
So I'm all for it.
Welcome to Tangent Tanner. That's me. So, all right. So here's Greg's data, and so Greg has been collecting data for all the games on his stream. So he's collecting essentially the game, the number of rounds, the scenario, the points, and he's also doing it versus the objectives versus the actual kills on the ship. And I think that's the bigger telling piece here, is that that's a piece nobody's collecting really at all. So Greg has 1 million pieces of data in here. So here's the first one. If you look at this one kind of goes up to, and it gives you the percentage of the rounds reached. So the majority of his games are going to 5 rounds. They're looking at 12 objective points versus 9.6 or 10. And the other side of it is about 10 and 4, right? So it's an average of 21.9 versus 14.2. So the spread is a lot less for that. So the first question is does that mean online play allows for either more potential to score points, or does it lend itself to the fact that it's more of the type of ships that you can run, which would make a kind of a variable difference, right? Like, so I get, because you can run gauntlets, you can run all these other things you couldn't run at Adepticon.
I also think that online play allows for a quicker setup.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to say. The other thing I was going to say is that moving the pace of the game in person is a lot slower than if you're playing on TTS, because you got to take into account all the physical movement that you got to check, especially when you get into the scrum where everything is bumping and touching in the center, and you're trying so hard not to move that objective piece that's on the board, and you end up bumping it and trying to move it. That takes so much time. And then on top of that, just those edge cases where you bump a ship, that's the difference in a centimeter of you being within range one of an objective to take it with the scramble and being outside of it. So there's a little bit of those tiny little inaccuracies that count in real life versus on TTS, where you never have that problem and everything's just a click away. So I think there is that discrepancy there. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Plus, you can generally make decisions a bit better because you can just move your camera around, where it's like, oh man, do I think I'm going to be able to clear this straight maneuver? You just maneuver your camera directly and you figure that out. It's hard to do that on a board in person, where it's your ship in the far corner and you can't see it properly.
I think the only person that has the advantage on that is Duncan Howard, and that's just because he is like 7.5 feet tall. So like he can just bird's eye the table like he's on TTS by himself.
See, I'm pretty tall. Like I generally have a decent advantage leaning over the table, but I just love on tabletop being able to just look at, just align the camera up and just say, okay, I know for a fact I have this, and then I can just dial it in and go.
Yep.
Yeah, see, that's where I found table play has been easier to some extent, maneuverability wise, than on TTS. I guess the only difference is I can't use my thumb. Like on TTS, at least I have my thumb. Like, so when I get really serious, like I'll be in here. Like my daughter came down one time during the GSP tournament. She's going, Dad, why are you like fingering the screen? What are you like putting your fingerprints on the screen for? I didn't mean it like that. Why are you putting your fingerprints on the screen? And the so it's just a little different. Like I don't usually do that, but like I had a couple of games on GSP where like it came down to, do you want to make cut or not? And it's like, so all right, I gotta guess. I gotta be a lot better at guessing. So in person, I find things so much easier to guess. I don't like that all the obstacles move all the time, but if we can figure out to get Flipster to fix obstacles, it'd be great.
Something that I did in 1.0 and even tabletop play for 2.0, there's this stuff that like elementary school teachers use that's like almost like a tacky substance that comes in like a little wad, and you can just break off a piece of it and stick it on the back of the objective, or in this case I would put a couple of them on the back of obstacles, and then when you stick them to the table, they don't, I mean, there's still some give because it's a felt covered piece of neoprene, but it doesn't move because it's physically adhesed, and it's something that doesn't leave residue or anything like that.
I was about to ask you that, because I definitely want to get that, because I felt by like the second round I was really done with the objectives, like just nudging constantly. So yeah, I'm definitely have to get that.
All right. So then here's kind of his breakdown a little bit with the different factions. If you look at the averages, Rebel has the most games, surprisingly enough. All the fucking introductory B simulator crap.
Wait a minute. You mean in scenarios where there's no half points, the beefiest small base ships are doing the best?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surprising. I know.
They have a higher win rate too. Anyway, but
just give me TLTs back and let's make it 1.0 again. Can we just give me TLTs back?
No, you can't have them back. Though I heard about who was telling me about the stupid Y-wing TLT.
Yeah.
People were running
100 points. You could fit 4 scum Y-wings with TLTs on it, and just run the board, because TLTs were turrets. You had a 360-degree arc. As long as they weren't at range 1, just wreck shot 2 damage around. Each ship shot 2 damage around. That was 8 damage around. You decimate everything.
Yep.
Gotcha. So obviously Rebel had the most games. Resistance has the least amount of games played. CIS is kind of in the middle there. It looks like Imperial is less. Imperial though had the highest the third highest representation at Adepticon. Out of everything else. So I'm actually like, with these numbers, I'm a little surprised to see, them down lower because of that. But I guess it is what it is. And then obviously Republic is high, and ironically enough, Scum is extremely high. They have a shit win rate, but they are very represented on Greg's stream. Everybody that watches Greg or plays on Greg's stream just must love Scum.
It's because Greg calls us all cowards, so we just do it to screw with him.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, one of the pieces of the data here that I don't think it's on here, but Greg had mentioned in one of his nearest streams was that he found that if you actually lead on points by turn 3, you have a 93% chance of winning the game, which is crazy, a crazy piece of data.
So what if you lead?
Yeah.
Yes, if you have more points by the end of turn 3 than your opponent, you have a 93% win rate.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's awful.
Yeah, I know. There's hardly any comebacks in 2.5.
Yeah. And my favorite part of 2.0 was the end games where it's like, oh man, it's my one ship versus my opponent's 2. Can he, weave around? And I like that cannot happen anymore. Like that cannot happen with
I know.
new points and with scenarios, and it is killing me.
Then that's also a good point though that Greg made in the chat. If you think about it, round 3 in a game that's going to 5 rounds, 6 rounds maybe, round 3 is 50 to 60% of the way through the game.
Yeah, but if you look at like 2.0, right, there's been so many times, especially when you look at like the 2 ship lists, like Kylo, Supernatural Kylo, and Von Reg, or like the double fire spray list. You have that one ship that still refuses to give up, and they climb their way back to like take on the opponents to make it a very close game, and sometimes even win it. Those were really entertaining games because you're on your seat, as a viewer, as a observer of that particular game. It's interesting to see like the rally that player can do and trying to come back and try to win that game. Whether or not they actually do it, sure, but it's that feeling, that expectation that you're entertained, you're grasped by that particular game because you're like wondering if that person is going to be able to make up that difference or not. And that happened a lot more often, I would say, in 2.0 than currently how we have now. I mean, that's the flip side is 7% of the games is where the person who was down by turn 3 all of a sudden manages to rally and win the game at the end.
And I will say that the 2 times that I have flown in the scenario rules, one against John and one against you, JJ, with that 3-ship beef list that I have.
Yeah.
I think I've defied the odds because mathematically you guys should have that with taking objectives. But when my ships start swatting ships off the grid, like the game changes very quickly when all of a sudden you went from 4 objectives held per round to 1 objective held per round, and I just scored 12 points by killing 3 ships.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's sorry. Were you
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good.
Yep. I'm saying that's kind of like I think where a lot of the meta is, I think, going to be pointing, because with the new Crest and the Gauntlet coming out, those are 2 very difficult ships to kill in 5 turns. Like I have been flying, like there's a scum list that I've been flying a lot online, and now that I've got the ships, I've been flying it in person. Incredibly difficult to kill. I think I've lost 1 game out of 9. And that just came down to, I think, like it was salvage or something, because like the Gauntlet can't hold on to crates 12. He's stopping every turn. And so a lot of where my list building is at right now is, okay, I'm going to make the most difficult ships to kill and force you to win off of entirely objectives. And all I need to do is kill 1 and hold even on objectives.
Yep.
That's it.
And I will tell you right now, and I'll go on record as saying my favorite Gauntlet pilot is not Maul. My favorite Gauntlet pilot is Rookcast, because with a focus and a strain, I'm rolling a full string every time.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. It's even better if you take IG-88 and Lando, and then you have 2 rerolls.
So the list that I have been running is Rook, Lando, Bosk. Bosk with Zam Wessel running Rook with either Savage Oppress or I run Ahsoka because she's 1 point cheaper than the other force users, so I just have that backup force. And then running Lando is as lean as I can get. I've been running Bosk with Zam and Greedo so that I'm punching crits in every chance that I get. And it's oppressive, the amount of damage that you have to do to kill any one of those 3 ships. I think the closest I've seen was JJ was 1 point away from dropping Rook off the board, and I still had 2 almost full health big base ships near the end of our game. Yeah. It's oppressive to have that much beef on the board and just ramshackling through stuff because, again, Rook at range 2-3, I'm rolling 3 hits every time. Every time I'm rolling 3 hits. Good luck. I love your green dice. Go for it. Let's see what you can do. On a long enough timeline, I will eventually start getting damage through, and on 3 and 4 health ships, if I take 3 big swats at it, it's coming off the board.
Yep. I think Rook is the best Gauntlet pilot.
Agreed. With overtune. Throw overtuned on her, dude. Have fun with that. Let's get 3 strains and then just do red maneuvers so that we don't ever lose those strains.
So one thing that I have been trying out, because I've just been trying to have fun with the Gauntlet, is I'm trying to figure out how many stress tokens I can put on that thing. Jabba Contraband on Maul, you get the whole 9 yards. I've been playing on Hexile, trying to see how many I can get. My record is 17.
Damn.
17 stress tokens.
I don't even own 17 stress tokens. I don't think.
I did before I cleaned out all the cardboard that I had from 1.0 and 2.0. Now I just have acrylic, so no, I don't have 17 stress. I just have to keep a D20 next to the stress token as I move around.
Yeah.
Duos with Gina. Oh my god! Imagine.
Now, to be fair, I have had. I think is it Palov? That's the hawk that steals focuses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had double-digit focus tokens on a hawk before, but I've never double-digit or never double or I've never had double-digit stresses. But
now, theoretically, the maximum you can get is 27. You just have to be horribly action inefficient.
Fair.
Like, you have to use your red coordinate to coordinate someone's red coordinate using Gleb to then pass both stress tokens over to you. So you spend 1 action to gain 2 stress tokens.
That's great.
I would do that just for the fun of it.
Honestly, if you've got the spare action, like, it's Maul, you got plenty of tokens. You're fine.
That's like when Marcel ran the jump masters all with static discharge veins, and he would just pass
that's right.
down the chain until it got close enough to an enemy ship, and then throw it off the enemy ship. Like, that was just, it never works. It'll never work in a tournament, but to sit down with it is just fun.
Love it.
All right. So we talked about where the data is at. Where does that lead us? Right. So we have a few minutes left. I actually have one other thing I want to do with Crispy before he leaves, and hopes to get him to come back out and play on our stream in the next week or 2. But before we do that, where does the data lead us? Right. So we've talked about where the data is at. What are we going to do about it? What do we want to do about it? So whether AMG listens or not is inconsequential, right? Because at some point, if we have run events, so such as Dion, right, running these type of events, creating his own rules to some extent, he listens. We all know Dion listens to some, for the most part. I mean, Dion has never been dismissive of the community that I know of, at least since I've been a part of this. And I've always, it's again one of those things is they talk about legacy of the game, and if they don't want to do all these big tournament type things, and Dion does become a premier tournament organizer, how do we get him, or how do we talk through some of the data, right? How do we, what recommendations? So now that we've looked at some of the data, and I will tell you that we are going to run some sort of a t-test, and we are going to look at that. I guess I won't bore you with my articles tonight. I actually have articles that I wanted to share with you, that I think most people would find boring. But we won't do that tonight. I will save those articles specifically for when we have run our tests. Um, but think about it. Where do we want to go with some of the changes? Like if we were running the show ourselves, if it was us in charge as a community versus AMG, which is 100% a possibility if Dion owns all the tournament organization for the near future. What do we want it to be? Where do we see? What do we want to collect? What changes or things do we want to see different? Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first. So honestly, the ties, obviously that's something that has to be addressed. Now, one of the things that that obviously was a big deal, like one of the reasons why they wanted to use a graduated cut is because of the time that they had at Adepticon. The tournament or the Adepticon organizers did let GSP know that they had until 4 p.m. essentially to finish off the final round, and then they were basically already packing everything up when the final round was going on. So for that reason, they couldn't really go into like a top 32. But even so, if they didn't want to do a top 32, and I know it's asking a lot of the players, especially the ones who have been there all day playing games. I mean, we got there what 8 in the morning to register, and by the time we were done with with all the games, we were out by like 11 p.m. Honestly, you do a top 32 the same day of Swiss, right? You do your 6 rounds, you figure out who the top 32 players are, and you play that top 32 game there. And then, whoever moves on for there, you could still do top 16, 8, and 4, and then final round on day 2. And you can eliminate that give more players the opportunity to make it to that top cut, and provided that the tournament organizers does have the surprise support for that top 32 cut, but at least give people more of a chance to try to make the final table at that point. Beyond that, although I do understand a lot of what a lot of people have said in the community in terms of like the amount of data that we received, that this is just one tournament, that it's still too early to make any changes. I still say that what we have now is something that we definitely need to, in terms of data, we definitely need to move forward to adjust the scenario points and the objectives to make them a little more balanced, a little more granulated, so that way if there's any adjustments for any pilots that need to go down in points or increase in points, that there's that flexibility to change the points, so that way we don't see the same meta for across the board between all the different factions, because we're always going to see Contrail, we're always going to see Derek Clivian, we're always going to see those 2-point ships because they're just nice filler, and they're always going to be in those lists because they fill out the list easily and they're just objective takers. Whereas if you can switch them up and add either more options or restrict them to just 3-point ships, that it changes what kind of list will come up in tournaments overall.
All right.
Everything is balanced when everything is broken.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a fair motto.
All right. Crispy, what's your take?
Yeah. So basically, I had a couple ideas, and JJ, I think, rattled them off one by one. I'll just add on to a little bit of what he said there. So this is Adepticon was the first world qualifier. Like I know people who came across the Atlantic to play here, and the fact that the cut was made as small as physically possible is a little upsetting. People traveled
Yeah.
far and wide to come here, and you made it as hard as you could to give people a chance. And maybe that's just part of the competitiveness. But I think just a top 32 would have been sufficient. And because that was out ruled in the documents for a tournament of that size to have a top 32 cut, unless you go to the graduated cut. A lot of people talk about ties. I think ties either need to be eliminated in Swiss play, just the same ruling as they did in the cut. Roll off, fine. One of you goes on, one of you doesn't. Or I think you make sure that your Swiss system is working properly. Because let's just say, like, the whole reason why people are talking about the graduated cut being better is because it prevents all of the 4-1 matches from just tying up. But before the end of the round, they always post pairings, so you will know where you stand. If you are in like the bottom, like 2/3 of 4-1, and you draw, you will not make, because you're already determined by strength of schedule. So if you're the last 4-1 and you tie, you're going to be beat by every single 4-1 ahead of you, unless there's some random flux, like huge, massive flux in your strength of schedule. So it is in your best interest, if you are in the bottom section of 4-1, to play. Now, if you're in the top section of 4-1, like you're the best strength schedule of a 4-1, like you want to tie because that's an easy in. But if your Swiss system is working, you should be matched up against an opponent that is far from the same rank as you. Like the top 4-1 shouldn't be playing the second top 4-1. So you're more likely to go up against an opponent that doesn't want to tie. So I think just specifically looking at Adepticon, had they extended to a top 32 cut, they would have let in 13 4-win players. When I think there were, like 30 or so players with 4 wins at the end of the event. So out of those, 30 players, had they all just decided to tie, 17 of them would have made the wrong decision. And at the end of the day, like, when a majority of your players are making the wrong decision, like it's like when you're relying, like, that's just statistically improbable that a majority of your players are going to make a blatantly wrong decision. Because if you're in that bottom half, you want to play to get in to guarantee it. Otherwise, you're relying on your poor strength of schedule to, push you up. So I think, like, ties don't, like, I think it would be just easiest if ties were eliminated.
Yeah.
But even if they aren't, there are still plenty of arguments just based off of the statistics of, a Swiss system and the rankings that we currently have, and the tiebreakers, where drawing at 4-1 is more likely than not in your best interest.
Fair enough. Charles? Did we lose Charles?
What do I need to say that hasn't already been said? No, I'm here.
You'd like to talk to us about your car's extended warranty?
So just one more thing that I wanted to add. So I know we have statistics about, the games. I would like to see, and like I might have some free time to just go through this. I'd like to see the statistics of specific pilots, because I know JJ talked about all the 2-point ships and the there are certain ships that are basically must pick. If you look back at 2.0, for specific pilots, like outside of the abnormalities that were spam techs or quad phantoms, have we ever seen a pick rate for a certain pilot at any level that we see Contrail, Hobby, Blount being taken? Because I think for the cut, I think Contrail was in every single Republic list. I don't think we've ever seen that, ever.
Yeah.
Like, it is, like, there are some crazy list building anomalies that we have right now just because of the current list building setup, and that 2.2 and 3-point ships are absolutely dominating just because they're so underpriced compared to everything else. Like, Barris is 3 points and the cheapest Torrent is 4.
Yeah.
Like make it make sense.
Oh yeah.
And we had talked about I don't remember if we talked about this on stream or if I just talked about it in person. I don't remember anymore. But like, to me, one of the big changes that they could make is let's get rid of named 2-point pilots. And let's keep the 0 loadout. So like in Separatists, you can have Trade Federation drones at 2 points, right? So they're an anomaly. But let's go to a 3-point Torrent. right? And give it 0 loadout points. Or give me a V-Wing that's not an I-5 that can't carry, you know, like, I guess let them have Besh, whatever. I don't care. Besh isn't that groundbreaking on 2 dice. But let's go to a 0 loadout or a very, like, a 1 or a 2 point loadout and give 1 pip to a 2 point ship. So one of the things we did figure out when we were looking at all of this, Crispy, is if you go through every one of the 2 point pilots is something you can get in a black box in standalone. So the reason torrents can't be 2 points is because they don't fucking sell them by themselves. Like, otherwise I would own a bunch of torrents because I used to fly torrents all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm happy now because like I would never fly there's 2 torrents I would fly out of that whole effing group. But okay, anyway, so that's the first premise that they use that they didn't tell anybody. But if you go and look at every pilot, it's a standalone ship, and it is something that you know you can buy without having to buy a pack. The second thing, if you go and look at all the standalone ships, they usually have 2 generics in them. You could make one of those generics 1 pip and make it 2 points. Minus Separatists. Leave Separatists alone. But you could do that like in Scum. You could go back into Scum. I could take an M3A and I could now make a 2 point M3A. And it's just not going to be a named pilot. Don't let it be a named pilot. Make it, they have 2 non-named pilots and make one of those the 2 points and give it that. Same with like an A-Wing. I could take an A-Wing that's not freaking Derek, even though Derek doesn't do much, but he's an I3. But there's an I1 and an I3, and you can make the I1 2 points and just pivot. And you solve some of that issue because you're still going to see what you see. So everybody's going to need that ship filler, but it's less appetizing. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have taken Contrail if he was in an I1 V-Wing in my list. I would have upped one of my other ships to a better ship. I would have taken Padme instead of Danae. That's exactly what I would have done and just cut Contrail right out because I don't care about an I1 2 point ship unless I'm running Separatists. Really, you know.
Yeah.
Again, I think the reason that we see such a big push in the 2 point ships is not for their pilot abilities. It's for the fact that if I don't put it in there, it's a guaranteed 2 points. Or if I put it in there, I can let it hang back or I can keep it off the side and make them work for those 2 points. I've built so many lists, like my 3 point list that I flew. That's the Gauntlet, the Falcon, and the YV666. That's 19 points. I give up a point at the start of every game that I play, and every game that I've played using that list, I've still won. So 1 point isn't huge. 2 points, on the other hand, can make the difference, especially giving someone a 2 point lead at the beginning of the game when you're only going 5 or 6 rounds. So
fair enough.
I don't know, but I don't like the fact that I don't have a 2 point M3A that I can swarm. Like,
I agree.
Other than Z95s and Mining Guild TIE fighters, there's nothing I can swarm in Scum. You're getting big base ships, you're getting medium base ships. I'm building beef. Period. End of story. I'm gonna make you work for every one of those 10 points you get.
Yep.
All right, so we have one last thing that I wanted to do, and we haven't done this in a while. We
random
used to
dancing?
do, huh?
I said random dancing?
No. Well, we haven't had in a while is a JJ wearing a Giants hat. That's what we haven't had in a while.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He's wearing a Yankees shirt. Can we just not bring up sports right now? Because, like, God. Anyway.
Fair enough. So we haven't done a construct the Death Star in like, I don't know, like 5 months. And so Crispy has never done one with us. And this is kind of a dick move to do because I never told them that we're going to do this. But the idea is we're going to build you a list that you have to fly against one of us. And we're going to do the same thing to somebody else. So, like, if you're available to fly on our stream on one of the nights that we stream, we could build you a list that you get one veto for. And we get to pick the ships and we get to do some of the upgrades. And you get, like, a veto. And then you get to fly that trash. And then we get to do the same thing to one of the other hosts. So you can, and we'll even let you pick which hosts you want to fly against.
So basically, he did a really good job of sales pitching this, Crispy, just to let
Yeah.
you know what's about to happen. We are going to hose you with like the worst
Oh,
pilots
good.
and the most
Good.
useless upgrades. This is just
By the way, I'm
garbage.
picking JJ right now.
Yes, I'm in. Yes.
All right.
so some background for the stream. So we have a little bit of a rivalry. We've played in 2 different tournaments where we've knocked each other out from the top, and so we're 1-1 currently right now. So yeah, definitely.
And then also in the redemption event at Adepticon,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah,
absolutely minced my vultures.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man.
I
So
ran
many bombs.
Django, Seer, and 3 vultures. A B-wing killed the vulture on the second engagement. A B-wing killed the vulture on the second engagement, and his third B-wing killed my third vulture.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
That's what happens to those things, unfortunately. So I will tell you.
It's been a minute. Does Crispy get to pick his faction before we start hosing him?
Oh shit! I don't remember. No, we didn't let him.
Oh, we rolled. No, we rolled.
We rolled. That's right.
Ooh.
And then does JJ get to take part since he has been the chosen opponent?
Well, I will if he wants to participate in mine.
Yes.
All right,
I say yes.
absolutely.
Fair.
Let's
Yeah,
see here.
I
So
say
we
let's
need
screw,
a
let's screw
D8.
JJ and screw Crispy. All right, Charles, you can roll. Yeah, if you got to die, you get to roll.
Give me a second here. I think I got it. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all right. So I got a D6. There's no such thing as a D7. And there's
All right.
7
So is there
factions.
a faction you don't want to fly at all, Crispy?
At alt resistance.
All right. So resistance is in.
resistance.
What's your favorite one?
Favorite, probably first order.
All right. So first order is not allowed, and you have to run 1 through 6. So any of them. So Charles, it's 1 through 6 on the number bar in Yasby, except for first order will be blank. They will be the one you cannot get.
Fair enough. Scum.
All right.
All right, I'll take that.
All right. Remember, you get 1 veto, just so you know. So like if we pick, do we want to do extended too? Do we just say extended now?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
No
let's
ban
not-
list. though.
no black box. To be fair,
Alright.
the last time we did this, we gave John that the Star Viper that can turn 90 degrees, and we all
Yeah,
realized
that
just
was my
how
mistake.
amazing that was.
Yeah. That was 100% my bad, and I had to
So-
fly against that shit.
We're doing chance engagement or just like an extended match?
We're not going to tell you the scenario. You're just going to get randomly picked.
Scenario.
on
I was going to say
screen.
scenario. We'll shuffle the deck and draw
Okay.
whatever the top card is out of the scenario deck,
Okay.
and that's what you get.
Surprise!
fair.
It's droids you're looking for.
Oh yes, yes. All right, that might be one of them. That might be one of them. Or we'll do a duel. Oh, we could, never mind. Yeah, okay, let's keep focused. Otherwise, we'll be here for an hour. It's all right.
Tanner will not let us accomplish anything this stream.
All right, so we're gonna do extended, no ban list though. You cannot have something off the ban list. So Charles, you get to pick the first ship.
Ooh. You know what? I'm going Star Viper.
Okay. Does it always say Star Viper class attack platform?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
I did not know that's what it was called. So do
Yep.
we get to let Crispy pick the pilot, or do I get to pick the pilot? Crispy, you could pick the first pilot, and then we get a veto if we don't like what you pick.
Oh man. All right. Oh man. I'm gonna take Dalen. Dalen Oberus.
All right.
Okay.
So we have 10 loadout points. JJ, you get to pick the first upgrade.
Notorious. On talent. It's a talent.
Yeah, I know I spelled notorious wrong because
You can't.
You have to have an illicit slot.
Oh, you gotta have
It
the
requires
okay.
it requires an illicit. So with Dalen, he can't run the title, which means no illicit slot on the Star Viper.
Then we'll give him Predator.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say Mark Sable closure. I'm like, yes, make that bendy barrel roll interesting.
All right, Charles, you're next.
I am gonna go with. Let's see, what can we fill out of this? I'm gonna give him primed thrusters so that he could still boost or do the bendy barrel roll even while stressed.
All right.
That means he can do the 90-degree turn and still have some maneuverability. I'm not gonna hose him too hard because I'm a hardcore Star Viper fanboy.
All right, you got 2 points left, Crispy. What are you gonna put on here?
I think the only upgrade I can take is electronic baffle.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Now we get to pick the next ship.
Escape craft. No, I'm just kidding.
It actually might do well in a 4-round game, right? I mean,
The
what do they
autopilot
have?
drone.
3 forward blow up, 3 forward.
Get
Just leave them.
I'll give him the Nickel City suggestion, the G1A.
Oh yes.
Let's
All
see
right.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Who's gonna pick the pilot? Can't be JJ.
I'll go and let's throw. You know what? Let's put Zuckus in there.
All right. Crispy, you can have the first pick for upgrades.
All right.
And we'll give you the title for free. We know that's
Oh,
there's
thank you.
no reason not to have that. So like you can have the title. That adds a cannon slot. Holy shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a,
It
All right.
adds cannon and gives a barrel roll.
Because I like a lot of dice, I'm gonna take trick shot.
yeah, I knew you were gonna do that. I knew you were gonna do that.
Well done, sir.
All right. If that's the case, then I don't know. Do we go with auto blasters? Yeah,
Sounds-
spicy choice.
Yep.
I see.
All right, and the last 2 points is for Charles.
He is on the ban list, so that's a no. You know what?
Who's
I was gonna put Boba Fett in there and let him move it around after placement, but
No, you can't.
Boba Fett's not a thing.
No.
You know what? Since you took trick shot, let's throw Kira on there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, Kira.
There
Yep.
you go.
All right. Cool. Oh, so the next ship. Why don't we go? Ooh, should we do a Kimajila? Or do we pick an M3A? Because I don't know, but you also have
Or do you throw the ST-70?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. That's fine. All right. JJ, you can pick the pilot.
You know what? The Guild Bounty Hunter is a pipped generic, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you can only have 2.
Yeah, let's do that.
Can I veto the pilot?
Yep.
Yeah, you get your veto.
All right. All right. Can I say that it's not? It can't be the other generic. It's got to be one of the 2 named ones there.
Sure. Yeah, we'll allow that.
All right.
Yes.
So one of the so either Q9 or Mando.
All right.
I'm gonna go with Q9 and say no talent slots.
He had trick shot on everything.
All
right. All right. Since
Forlum.
Forlum is your first crew upgrade. All
Yes.
right.
Ooh, we like that.
You can have the title for free. Might as well just throw that out there. That seems
What-
logical.
How are we ruling the title, by the way?
Mm.
What do you mean?
So there's been some discussion in the Discord that the title allows you to hide one of the 2 illicit slots that are on the ship and not add a third and hide it.
I'm actually more in favor of the first one. The more I've read that, I think that makes more sense based on how AMG, or we'll just say how FFG has fucked things up in their verbiage before.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit more
Yeah.
closer to that.
Okay. Fair.
I will tell you, we had not been playing it that way though, and I think
Yeah, I
when
know.
we reviewed
The last
that
game-
card, we
yeah.
thought it was going to be totes and goats because of that. So
So you know what
All
I
right,
think
so-
we should do, Chris?
Yeah.
I think we should load up with max point upgrades and everything that's not illicit slots to just completely cut the title out, even though we gave it to him for free.
Well, we can put an ion cannon. Who's our most expensive gunner? Oh, Han.
Huh,
there we
gunner,
go.
ooh.
3 points left.
You gotta give him a focus.
There you go. No illicit slots. IG 88. You can still get your dual calculates. I don't know what the hell Forlon does. You can have a red focus. Yeah.
Did you give him IGD crew?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
Come on. Let's
No,
be a
I'm
little
I'm
nice.
in for this. I want to see how this works out.
Because essentially think of it as a FO, right? Because Han, you can still take your red focus. Yeah, so think of it this way. You can have 2 calculates and a red and a focus. It'll be like Whirlwind, whereas you just plop 3 fucking focuses on the table and go, come at me.
But they're only good if you have those giant metal focuses to put on the table.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I did that, by the way. That was very fun.
All right. So last ship, can I call it? Because it's 4 points.
Yep.
I want the Quadrajet transfer space tug.
Ooh.
What are you giving
All,
him, Zubio?
all pilots are 4 points. So what are we
Yep.
gonna slam in there?
Zubio, obviously.
I think you have to go with Zubio. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hard.
Duvio and then give him no bombs.
Would you rather, Crispy? Would you rather have Zuvio or Unkar Plut? I'll give you the choice.
Ooh.
Why not? No. Why not Sarko Plank? That encourages him to fly the tug fast.
Oh, all right, fine. Fine. Who would you like? God damn it.
I'll let you pick if I get the first pick of upgrade. If we can negotiate that.
Jesus Christ. You are a hard hitter. Yeah. Okay, fine. So, Charles, which pilot do you want?
Sarko Plank.
Okay.
The one no one flies. Let's get as many people on the mat that no one uses.
All right, Crispy.
Protector Gleb in the crew slot.
Yep. I knew it.
We got to
All
get
That
Zuckus'
maxes them
double
out,
mod
so there's-
somehow.
No more points.
Dead
Where
Man
is
Switch.
Gleb?
Is Dead Man's
Oh no,
free?
you might right. No, never mind. I
No,
thought
Gleb is
I thought
6.
Gleb was
That's all
4.
he's got.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
Gleb is 6.
Okay. There you go.
Wow,
Coordinators
you have
are
like
expensive.
one hyper maneuverable ship, 2 like medium base chunks, and then like the least maneuverable ship in like the space tug.
Yeah.
All right. So, Crispy. So here, hold on. I'm going to put your name in here. I guess it doesn't highlight it. That's bullshit. Okay. So this is your list. So we typically fly Wednesday nights. Are you around on Wednesday nights at all by weird chance?
Wednesday is when we play at FLGS. When I normally get back around 9 to 9:30.
That's our second game. That would actually work out.
Cool.
Game 2. Yep.
All right. So shall we build JJ's list?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah,
Do
let's
it.
go.
So Charles, you get to pick which list JJ is going to get eliminated, and JJ can't veto this.
Yep.
Well, I guess you can. You get one
Wait,
veto.
which,
Fuck it.
Which list or which faction?
Which
Faction.
faction? Sorry. Which faction that he cannot fly?
Charles CB fly everything, so
This is Crispy's chance for revenge.
You know what? I'm gonna leave it to fate.
All right.
roll the D8.
I'm gonna roll a D8, and on an 8, Crispy picks the faction.
Fair.
All right. Let's go.
7. That's gonna be
CIS.
That's CIS.
Man, I don't want to root for JJ. Damn it. All right. So we're gonna let Crispy. So did we let JJ pick the first ship, right? We're gonna let Crispy pick JJ's first ship.
No, I picked Crispy's first ship.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I picked
Yeah, because it
the.
was a Star Viper.
I picked the second. I think.
Okay. All right. So then I will pick the first ship. I'm going to make you run an HMP droid gunship.
Okay.
Ooh.
Crispy, what pilot do you want in there?
I want DGS 047.
All right.
Okay.
Charles, you can have first upgrade.
Let's see. Let's go with, just because I don't think I've ever seen anybody play it, and I'm gonna stick to this. We're gonna go with TA 175.
All right, that will definitely affect how he builds the rest of his list, just so you know.
He doesn't get to choose how to build his list.
Oh, that's true. All right.
We're
That
building
is-
his list.
All right, JJ, what upgrade do you want?
JJ is Marcellus
missiles.
Wallace in the wrong scene of Pulp Fiction. That's what this is.
Cluster
All right.
missiles.
Ooh, good take.
All right. So, Crispy, what do you want the second ship to be?
Well, he brought TA 175. Let's give him some droids. Let's put a tri-fighter in there.
All right. JJ, you or I don't want to know you. All right, JJ, you could pick the pilot.
Let's see. DIS T81.
All right. Okay, Charles, what upgrade do you want to give him?
Intercept booster.
All
Or are
right.
we giving that free because it's a 0 cost?
That's
Well,
a 0
it's-
config.
It's a 0
Okay.
config, but it's also a negative to some extent.
Sure. I'm in.
You don't always want that. Maybe you do. Maybe you do in this one, but you ain't gonna take.
I
no
mean,
actions.
On the first system phase, you can just choose to just discard the card,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
That's true.
So it doesn't really have a downside.
Okay. All
Unless
right,
you
Charles,
misuse it.
Yeah.
you can pick the second upgrade then too. How
Oh,
about that?
well then. How about that? Does that have anything to do with anything? It does not, and I'm going to put it on there just because it absorbs upgrade points like nobody's business.
Jesus.
Your favorite upgrade, Chris? We're going to put
Tor-
trajectory simulator on the Tri-Fighter. That absorbed 6 upgrade points right off the bat.
JJ, do you want to video that now?
No.
Oh, okay.
What a take.
All right, JJ, what upgrade do you want? then?
Independent calculations.
Okay. Boom.
Boom. All right.
All right. We have 4 more points. I don't even know what does this ability do. You may spend 1 calculate from a friendly ship in the firing arc to change.
So basically, Necro calculate is the base ability, and so I can still use.
Oh, so you
that.
don't even need
Yep.
network calculate with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
Then-
I'm going to throw something out to the mercy of the court. I will, because I have done just asshole-ish things when it comes to upgrades thus far, I will give up my upgrade picks so long as I get to pick the next 2 ship pilot combos.
I'm going to veto that.
It was an offer. You don't even know what I'm going to do. You could veto one of the pilots.
All
right. I'm also going to choose trick shot.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Yes.
I don't know if that's good or not. Those things die so fast, so you should have chose a hull upgrade, JJ.
Yeah, they're tri-fighters. They die quick. They're fine.
All right.
Can I at least have the next ship then?
Yep.
And then JJ, you still have the opportunity to veto this.
Okay.
But just because I want to see one flown with this faction, throw a gauntlet in there.
Oh my god. All right.
Oh.
I want Previsla as the pilot personally.
All right. Does anybody have any oppositions to that?
No.
No.
Okay. Previsla it is. Crispy, what upgrade do you want to give him to begin with? And the one I will tell you cannot pick is the stupid fucking Super Commandos because they don't launch in TTS.
Oh, they
Otherwise,
don't. Oh,
no. Otherwise, 100%, I
sadly.
wouldn't care.
Sadly.
I've tried to play that on Greg's stream like twice now, and it just doesn't work. And I get angry every time.
All right. Let me. This is also new stuff that I want to see flown. I'm going to give you clan training.
Nice.
Ooh.
All right, JJ, what upgrade do you want? I probably know how you want to build this out. So what's your most important one that you want to put on here?
That's a very good question.
I know what one is not. It's the payload. I'll tell you it had zero effect in any of my games.
You don't want to put your probe droids on your gauntlet?
No.
Not in this format. Probe droid stock has gone down a little bit. I no longer get the turns ahead of time.
Drop seat bay mod.
All right. Okay, so
Quick.
now we got three.
Let's fill up all those points before we can use the crew slots.
Well, the crew slot I'm going to give him is Savage Press because that's the one I want to see flown. All right, Charles, 4 points.
4 points.
You have 4
play
points to
with.
spend.
Just because I like running it and it never triggers for me on this ship, just because of how huge it is. Boba Fett Gunner.
Oh my god, I hate that. God.
It never triggers
I know
because it's a front back arc, so it never triggers.
JJ, are you going to use your veto?
No.
Okay.
Living
Saving
dangerously. All right, we got 4 points to fill. And
Yeah,
with
that's it.
CIS, you have a lot of. No, I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean in the list.
Build wise, you got 4 points, and in CIS, that's a lot of options.
I vote 2 Trade Federation drones.
I should get a pick, don't I? Well,
Yeah, you can have a
Just
pick.
so you know, a Belbala will fit, Droid will fit, HMP's got a 4 point.
I was actually going to go for a Bell.
Belbala?
Yep.
All right, Crispy, which pilot does he get? You got 3 choices.
Let's give him the I-1 generic, the Feethan Outraw.
I will veto that.
Ooh.
All right, you get Watt.
Yes, turned on for Watt. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry, Watt's my favorite Bell
Look,
Lab.
Legit, I need a T-shirt that says "Turned down for Watt."
All right, Crispy. Then what upgrade do you want? Is the first upgrade?
Daredevil.
Daredevil. All right. So you okay? No, JJ, you can have the next upgrade.
Impervium plating.
Oh, I was good.
I don't think there's an upgrade you could take that would block both spots. So,
Well, we could give him angled deflectors, and then electronic baffle, and just block him up.
he blues his shield and gain a reinforce. That's such a dick move. Oh, because they don't get Solus run anymore. We could also give him a targeting computer, but
In wet slot.
Yeah, you got 5 points though. There's no other.
Oh yeah, so there's 5 points. You can't take the tack relay, so it's just a mod slot.
And we can't do discharge veins because those are banned, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Mm. Well, it was on one of your ships, so let's give him baffle.
All right.
hey, there you go. That works with your Daredevil, JJ. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
You can do a crazy boost and then take a damage to lose it.
I like it. You got
Yeah.
impervium plating, so
Yeah, just like burn your shields on the first couple turns, and then just rely on impervium plating. I'm sure you're not going to take 2 pilot crits to lose your ship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
all right. Well, there we go, folks. JJ construct the Death Star. All right. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We will have to pick a day either this week or next week, Crispy, depending on where your schedule lies.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't make you commit to this week, but we will request you join us for this event. And
If
that means
not, we could give up the first hour of Sunday cast next week to force him to play JJ right before.
before our cast, or do our cast and then do a short cast and then force them to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do that too.
That's good.
So.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk about it offline, figure out where we want to go, how we want to do. Thank you all for joining us. If you are new to the stream or just joining in, you can hit the subscribe button, become one of our subscribers. We are working through what we want to do to make some changes to the stream, to do some more giveaways, and try to make it a little bit more unique. We have some cards we're working on, even though everybody has cards. So we'll see how that goes as well. But either which way, you can also support us on Patreon, or you can support us by liking, sharing, and congratulating this video on your local iTunes or Google podcatching app. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night. We'll be back Wednesday with not in person, but on TTS games. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.